In this video, we will discuss how to create a speech introduction, how to create your speech body with transitions from one idea to the next, and how to also create your conclusion. When you are creating an introduction for your speech, you're introducing your speech to your audience. So a well-crafted introduction is the most effective way to introduce your audience to your speech and to make them interested in what you have to say. So there's three basic purposes of an introduction. The first one is to establish goodwill. This is to establish a general sense that you care about your audience and you have thought about them in advance of the speech. So basically how the topic relates to your audience. You establish your credibility. So why should we listen to what you have to say? You could discuss how you have conducted research on the topic. You can discuss why the topic is important to you. And also your introduction is meant to explain your purpose. So what's the purpose of your speech? Why should we listen to what you have to say? When you are creating your introduction, you should include an attention getter, your thesis, and a preview of your main points. And we'll discuss each of these in detail. So you want to have an attention getter in your speech. This is what's going to catch the attention of your audience. And there's different formats that you could use for an attention getter. One format is using a quotation. So a memorable quotation from a respected speaker or writer can be used here. It's most successful in a speech to use a quotation if the quotation is well known, memorable, or from someone who is respected by the audience, that the audience knows. Another attention getter is to acknowledge the speaking situation. This is good if you're speaking at a special event, if you're accepting an honor, or if you're honoring someone. This gives you the chance to explain the event. It gives you the opportunity to explain why you're speaking at the event, and it helps to unite you and the audience in a common purpose, why you are all there for this event. Another attention getter is asking a rhetorical question. So a rhetorical question is a question that is voiced for effect, and usually the speaker already has an answer. So it's not a question that you're expecting the audience to respond to. It's giving the audience an invitation to think about the answer, but not say the answer out loud. So it gets them thinking about their response and thinking more about the topic that you're going to speak on. Another attention getter is visualization. So this asks the audience to imagine a scenario or a scene in their minds. Visualizations are effective because of the way they ask audiences to participate in the construction of the speech. They can also be very moving because of their vivid imagery. So you could discuss a situation, a scene, a story to make the audience really place themselves into the speech, especially if you're giving a speech where you want the audience to think about an event, think about a place, or think about what is going to be happening for the rest of the speech. Another really good attention getter is telling a story or a joke. So you can organize your entire speech around a story. So say if you were giving a speech on a topic that you were really passionate about, and you had a personal connection to, you might have a story that you would include in that speech. And you could possibly organize your entire speech around that story. Or it could just be a story to start off your speech. So it catches the attention of the audience. You can also use humor in some speeches. This can draw people into the speech, but you have to be really careful with humor, especially for more serious speech topics. Another attention getter is using a startling fact or statistic. So a fact or statistic that is not widely known, but supports the purpose of your speech can catch the attention of your audience. So you could say something along the lines that, did you know that according to the FDA, and then give your startling fact or statistic. And make sure that, like I just mentioned, the FDA, whatever the source is for the startling statistic or fact, make sure to mention the source when you are giving that information to your audience. So besides having an attention getter in your speech introduction, you also want to have your thesis statement, which we've talked about previously. So a thesis statement is an expression of what your topic is and why you're speaking about it. Your thesis statement is your oral cue to your audience to help them organize your speech in their heads. So it lets them know, okay, I'm going to listen to this speech. It's going to be about this topic, and I'm going to learn about this while I listen to this speech. And the final component to your introduction is giving a preview to your main points. So every speech will have main points, or the body of the speech. So in your introduction, you catch the attention of the audience, you tell them what the purpose of your speech is, what the thesis is, and then you give them an introduction to the preview of your main points. So it could be along the lines of, throughout this speech, we will discuss point A, B, and C, whatever your main points are. Or throughout the speech, you will learn about, and then give your main points. So it's just giving the audience an idea of what is to come, and they'll know what to look for while they listen to the rest of your speech. Another important part of your speech is when you're going from one idea to the next in the body of the speech is to have transitions. So this is to signify to the audience that a new idea is coming. So you can use indicators like first, second, third, or firstly, next, finally, this, or in conclusion. These are all transition words that lets the audience know a new idea is going to be discussed, or we're moving on to something else. The final component of a speech is your conclusion. And this is the part that most students have the most trouble with because they're not quite sure how to wrap everything up. So some things not to do in your conclusion. Don't say, that's it, I'm done, that's all I have. You want to have a conclusion where the audience knows for sure that you have concluded without you saying that's it. So you can use words like finally, in conclusion, in summary, a final note. And then you summarize your main points again and reiterate your thesis. So it's almost like your introduction in a way. You're restating the purpose. So now that you've listened to my speech, you have learned about whatever the topic was. And to summarize, we discussed point A, point B, point C. And this is where you have a final statement. You generally do not include new information in your conclusion. Your conclusion is used as a wrap-up. The conclusion is also where you can include a call to action. So now that we've listened to your speech, where can we learn more? What should we do next? So like when you're giving a speech of an informational speech, it's more along the lines of where can we learn more? If you're giving a persuasive speech, your call to action might be, okay, now that we listened to your speech, how can we act on this? How can we make this change? So remember, your conclusion and your introduction are very similar to each other. They all have words in them to signify to the audience that it is your introduction, it is your conclusion, and both are meant to catch the attention of the audience and to let the audience know what the purpose of your speech is going to be, or what the purpose of your speech was if it's your conclusion.